Hello again, everybody. This is Craig Evans of Autism Hangout, and thank you for tuning into this Autism Hangout special report. We all know about the unprecedented rise in autism diagnosis among younger people. But what if at the age of 30, 40, or even 50, you just learned you had Asperger's? Sure, it helps explain a few things, but how would you react? Most folks in this situation have found this knowledge not only helpful, but inspiring. And today's guest is a perfect example of the latter. Upon learning of her autism at age 50, this double-degreed professional turned writer to document her learnings for the neurotypical world and, equally as important, fellow Aspies of all ages. Autism Hangout, please welcome today's guest, author Anita Lesko. Welcome, Anita. It's really nice to have you here.
Pleased to be here. I'm very excited to be talking with you, Craig.
Well, I've got your book. It's called Asperger Syndrome, When Life Hands You Lemons, Make Lemonade. And you clearly have made lemonade in your life. You are a double-degreed professional from Columbia, and you have been a successful member of the workforce as an anesthetist for what, 25 or 30 years?
24 years now, yes.
That's astonishing. And in reading your book, it's a story of your life, and it starts with childhood and goes up through education and your career. You talk about many things along the way.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to talk about is the power of positive thinking.
Yes.
Well, I went the first 50 years of my life not knowing that I have Asperger's. I just never knew that I never fit in. I was different, but it never stopped me from any of the things that I attempted to do. Mm-hmm. And I always felt that by me thinking positive and that yes, I can, despite the many obstacles that came in my path, I just forged ahead and just did what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And always accomplished what I set out to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know one of the things that you accomplished that's astonishing at any level is you flew a jet fighter aircraft. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got fixated on getting a flight in a fighter jet when I saw Top Gun. That was about 1995.
Yeah.
And I ended up, over a period of 7 years, being focused on that dream of getting a flight in a fighter jet, of becoming an internationally published military aviation photojournalist. And through that avenue, it gave me the opportunity of getting invited to different fighter wings and squadrons to write about their combat duties. And in that process, I got invited to get a flight in an F-15 out of Eglin Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. And the day I was sitting in the back of that jet going down the runway, I was sitting there in actual disbelief that I actually accomplished it because it was the most exciting event of my entire life. And that was, to me, like the ultimate proof of positive thinking and just keep forging ahead and working towards your goal, and sooner or later, you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah, and now I do know you are very goal-oriented and dream-oriented. Can you talk a bit about how you maintain your enthusiasm for pursuing a dream until you see it fulfilled?
It's almost something I can't even explain. Recently, I've had the lucky opportunity to talk to Temple Grandin twice on the phone. And our last conversation, she wanted me to elaborate where does all my motivation and drive come from? And I said to her, I said, well, it's almost really difficult to explain because it's become so intense when I focus on something, I cannot even explain it to myself, the drive that I have. And it just is something that every day when I get up, I can hardly wait to start on that pathway to that goal.
Mm-hmm. That's remarkable. That is just remarkable. Now, I know that through your life, too, especially through your book, you talk about some of the obstacles that you've run up against, and one of the biggest ones is bullying. You care to talk a little bit about bullying, not only in childhood, but in the workplace?
Yes. A lot of people, even people who, other than Asperger's, people get bullied in school for various reasons, even if you have funny shoes that the other kids think of their funny shoes. And so I've experienced bullying all throughout my life in school, but that's different than experiencing bullying in the workplace, because then it can interfere with your earning a livelihood, because somebody, whether it's your boss, which I've actually experienced getting bullied by my boss, or harassed, I guess the word would be for that. But there was two employees in particular, one at each job, one at one place that I stayed at for 7 years, and it was my first week on the job. And she was actually the chief anesthetist, and she would walk up to me and look me right in the face, and she would say, you don't fit in here, why don't you just leave?
Oh, my.
And she would just say this over and over to me. And now the biggest thing, my concern is, my fear, having that I started a support group, I'm very worried that, because I've encountered about 7 times already where parents have told me about their children, and we're talking kids ranging in age from 10 now up to 17, that their children are being bullied so bad in school that the kids are making statements like they don't want to live anymore, and they wish they were dead, and they want to make themselves dead. And I hear that, and my hair just stands up on end, and I go into an absolute panic that, to even for one child to say it, but now I'm already up to 7, and something needs to be done immediately before it gets to the point that they kill themselves. Now, we've seen on TV how many times in recent years, months, of children taking their life because they're bullied so bad. And to have my people, as I call them, my Asperger people, autism people, get to the point that they feel like that is very, very, very upsetting to me.
I know in your book you have a whole section on advice. Do you give advice as to how families and kids can deal with bullying?
Yes, I do, and I'm very specific about it. One thing I feel that this was something that my mother did, and I encourage other parents to do the same. If you go to the school, if the parent goes to the school and the school does not do anything about the bullying, and let's say you tried, they make several attempts, and the school does nothing about it and it still continues, then I would go to the law enforcement authorities to let them do something about it, which they do, because I've known people actually who have done that, and then all of a sudden you see how fast it stops when the parents, the bullying child, the child who was doing the bullying, when a police visit their home, how fast you see the bullying stops.
Right, right. There are, unfortunately, we don't have enough time today to talk about a lot of the pearls of wisdom you've put in your book, but you have sections that deal with the importance of pets, specific certain people that have influenced your life and why, more discussion of autism in the workplace and being Asperger's on the job and how to succeed. And this advice section is pretty robust. It's extraordinary. But one last thing I want to end on here is you want to make sure that fellow Aspies don't focus on the fact that they have Asperger's. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, in my last time I talked to Temple Grandin, we got on the topic of that, she travels around the world to speak, and like she said to me, that she's encountered people to the point where these young people, that they're so focused on Asperger's, as she called it, they can't even get up and brush their teeth in the morning.
Right.
Well, and I have, with the people in my support group, I see that, and they just want to sit there and say, oh, I've got Asperger's, that's the end of my life is over. When they found out they've got Asperger's. Just forget about that you've got Asperger's. Just get out there and do stuff, whatever it is you love to do, go and do it. Don't sit there and be concerned about Asperger's. There's a lot of other things out there that is a lot worse that can be wrong with you. Be glad you don't have that, and be thankful you just have Asperger's, and use the gifts of it, the laser focus, the ability to focus on things, and just go out there and go out in the world and do what you love to do.
Yeah, Anita, you are an absolute poster child for those that have been successful in using Asperger's as a strength, and I commend you for that. Thank you for writing this book. Where can people go to get more information about your book?
On my website, it's bornwithaspergers.com.
Very good. Very good.
And I'm going to be having a live blog soon on my website. I'm hoping that people will do kind of like a live support group every week.
Well, you're also an example of somebody that, upon learning about yourself, you have decided to give back to the community, and I commend you for that as well. And I want to thank you today for coming on today and telling us about your book.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Autism Hangout. I'll be back again soon with another special report.